defender-sided, coastline much more attacker-sided, much more structured as to how you go about, achieving your goals in the round. How you go about doing things is less free-flowing. So I think Brown may have a little bit of a hurdle to overcome there, and I do like the fact that uMx just immediately got coastline out. You saw how strong Brown were. I imagine after that first week performance, Brown won't actually be seeing a lot of coastline, as well as the fact that coastline now has actually managed to fall out of favor with quite a lot of teams. Brown sort of holding on to the last remnants of that wave. But I'm really excited to get into Villa. I don't actually get to catch much Villa. I don't know why. It's just me. I just never seem to get it.
Yeah, same. I think Villa and Theme Park and Consular, oddly enough, the ones that are left right till the end of these ban phases, this ban phase, those are the ones that we don't see quite as much of, or at least I don't see quite as much of, around this kind of circuit. But yeah, it's great to see. Villa's a really beautiful map, if anything else, if nothing else rather. uMx Gaming is 70% on that Twitter poll. Now, I'm surprised. I feel like that's possibly to do with their kind of following. And Brown Esports, obviously, it's not an organization. They don't have the backing of an org, and they don't have a following. But based on last week's performances, I would say that this is, if anything, I'd say it's going to be closer, and if anything, scaled or skewed in Brown Esports' favor.
So is that a prediction coming through from you? You're going to say Brown Esports is taking this one?
Yeah, that is. I don't think that uMx Gaming have entirely dodged the bullet just by taking Brown to coast here. I think that there's still a lot of strength in what Brown was showing last week. And like I said, it wasn't your typical coastline smash. It was a really considered, methodical one. So that could apply to Villa quite nicely. We've got the top players here. Some beautiful stats being brought up by our wonderful producer. And as you can see from last week, Kucha and Skills, these are the two to watch out for, and you can see they had some very, very nice stats, especially Skills right there, going 10-3 across 7 rounds last week as well. It's worth remembering that was a very short game, so impressive stats there. And obviously that's 3.3 KD. I don't know how long he can expect to hold on to that stat, but it definitely looks good after 1 week.
Yeah, and just to sort of highlight further, Skilts did that in 7 rounds. Kucha managed to get that through 12. So it does kind of show that maybe Brown had an easier week, or maybe Skilts was just, he had his Weetabix, had a little bit of sugar on top, and he was absolutely flying. But as we are getting on into the game now, we're going to be seeing the operator bans. We're going to be able to see if Skilts can get a repeat performance, or if Kucha will get the better of him this week, or if we'll have any surprise players come on through and show us up this time around.
Well, there's one other name that I wanted to highlight from last week, and that's Temp, or T3MP, as he's going by on Brown Esports. And he was instrumental in their victory last time around as well on Coastline. He got, I think it was either 4 or 5 of the opening frags on attack across all of those rounds, across 6 rounds. So really instrumental in their victory. And yeah, I think especially early round, we're going to expect to see him have a big impact, as Brown Esports are starting off on the attack, and they will bring out that Maverick ban after the Thatcher from uMx.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if we see relatively consistent defensive bans, although a Maestro, normally we see Echo getting taken out of the equation at this point. But uMx more than likely going to get rid of that mirror, very standard ban. You don't want to be leaving that up on the board. Although with uMx defending first, they might have a couple of pocket mirror strategies that they're going to want to try out.
It's entirely possible, but on Villa, it's so much of a mainstay that I'd be surprised. She has made it through, and it is in fact Echo and Maestro off the board. So a Villa with mirror. I'm excited for this. It's a very rare occasion. It's a very rare circumstance we get to see this happen, and I suppose expect a lot of Hibana, but also with the Thatcher gone, a well-protected mirror window with some electricity thrown on it is going to be incredibly difficult to deal with.
Yeah. Although I think potentially at this point in time, mirror is so out of the meta. I don't think I've ever casted a game when mirror has been available on Villa. So she's so out of the meta of what you expect to see that we might actually not wind up getting a lot of mirror play. And even here on this very first round, Aviator Games, the classic ranked bring mirrors, set it up on the walls looking into study. We're not getting that. We're going for a lineup that is going completely away from bringing a mirror out.
Yeah, that is unusual, and I suppose it's not completely out of the ordinary. Like you said, she's just so out of favor in terms of the meta that teams just don't tend to practice with her and assume that she'll be banned out. But there we go, getting the names back on, so you can see the lovely player names that are on screen for you here. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one to see whether they do decide to mix it up after realizing that this is an option. Because honestly, it's one of the strongest mirror maps in the game. And I feel like not taking her is, you know, it's going to upset your kind of preset strategies if you have been practicing without her. But, you know, surely you can shaft the Legion or something, find some other means of guarding your rear, and just utilize that free map control that the Black Mirrors give you.
Yeah. I do think, though, that, you know, just going with what you know, what you've practiced is generally the better idea, bringing out that mirror, catching you off guard, because you might be able to work it within the strategy, but then if the other team thinks of a way around it, which you haven't necessarily considered because you've not had all of this playtime with her that you have with your current lineup, it can, you know, it can wind up playing against you more and more as time goes on. As we are already getting on into the round, Temp has already managed to find his way into the building, and I think he's going to be looking for that early fight, playing the Ashe once again. You mentioned how prolific he was at getting those opening kills last week, and I wouldn't be too surprised if he's going for a repeat performance here.
Sounded like he hit a couple of goo mines there, and I suppose that is the benefit of those. They will read into that early push, but at this point, you've got to assume that Brown Esports are pushing from Master. It's just sort of your default strategy at this point in the meta. Very few teams will focus all of their efforts onto Study, but we do see Temp sort of rotating here, and now this is pretty quick map control from Brown Esports. It has to be said, they've done their job sweeping through that north side. There was very little resistance from uMx besides a couple of goo mines for that early kind of intel, but it's a very turtle setup here from uMx. You can look to say Suspended and Rep sitting just outside of sight, holding that classical stairs corridor and just keeping that as kind of your extended anchor position. But really, I think we can expect... Oh, I was going to say we can expect most of the pressure to come through the B doorway and from Study, but actually we've opened up Vault early on, and that's going to really hamper this defense, who have limited rotation between the two sides.
Yeah, and by opening up Vault and having Mahi sit on that window, he does have Claymore set up beneath him as well to help cover his position. It's going to be so difficult for uMx to be able to get round and deny the plant. If we see the Thermite of Witsuika, if he can get behind that Vault door, completely indestructible, and get that plant down. Temp is cutting off any rotations through Study. Suspended looks like he's going for it, though, trying to take the fight onto the Ashe on the balcony, but it's going to be Temp to win that one out. And this is now a 3 versus 5 with the remaining players of uMx caught in a very bad situation indeed. They do still have Kutcher on the smoke. As Rep gets the kill onto Mahi, the smoke is getting more and more powerful as time goes on. The delayed plant is just playing right into uMx hands. One well-placed smoke canister at this point in time could win the round for uMx. Mahi, Witsuika is going for the plant. Kutcher loses a lot of HP. The smoke detonates, and Wit has to back on out. He's going for a plant behind the maps now, with time fading away rapidly. It looks like the plant might be successful at this point. Rep gets the kill onto Skills. The plant is going down after time has expired. Coach gets one, Temp another, and now it's all left up to Rep, the Wamai, to try and get these final 3 kills. Wit is on such low HP that he goes down immediately. Peeking onto the top of red stairs. Coach is below. He has the IQ, so he can use his gadget to shoot through the floor when disabling, but Temp is going to have to try and hold on for just a little bit longer. Rep peeking out into the door. Firing into Study takes a lot of Temp's HP, but loses a lot in return. The shot's coming through from the pistol beneath, but he's actually sticking in the diffuser now, and it's going to be Temp with the pistol to take down Rep. And a very chaotic round to begin with, but that is going to be Brown Esports getting round number 1 on their attack.
That was such a strong showing there from Brown Esports. Apologies just for the moment, we're having some technical difficulties with our clean feed. You might have noticed we saw that entire round in a wonderful top-down view, and that was so that we could continue to watch it without any screen stutter. So ironic when I stutter on the word stutter, isn't it? Either way, yeah, so that was It was quite a good way to see how that execute panned out, though. We got a lot of information from it that we otherwise might not have. There was a moment in that attack where we saw the sledge of Skilts go underneath to try and nab a kill onto the player behind bar with a grenade. It took a lot of health off of the smoke. And I mean, that could have been the real turning point because those smoke grenades were potentially very high impact. But as we saw, all three just, well, the first one took a lot of damage on off of, or a lot of health off of the thermite, so that was quite good. But then the last couple, they weren't quite reaching the back of the site there, and it gave Witsuka the chance to plant. And honestly, that for me, it's not. That's a difficult one to land, but if those smokes had landed, you've basically got the round there in the bag. So unfortunate for uMx, I'd say, but I mean, it's just those little interactions that do make the difference a lot of the time.
Yeah, I would have to say that Brown got relatively lucky in that round. Obviously, you know, they had Skilts go below and throw the frag up, so they were aware of the smoke, and they were probably trying to delay the plant so they could get him out of the round, but it was just not really working out for them, and it could have just heavily backfired against them.
There was some impressive play there from Rep. I want to highlight him. He picked up 3 kills in that round, and it was, I mean, he was the only player on uMx to get any kills. And the real kind of moment where it looked like uMx might actually have a hope, they were 5 versus 3, and then somehow the Wamai of Rep gets away with just walking up the hallway to 90 and taking down the player on rappel. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. And he managed it, and suddenly they have 90 control. But again, it just wasn't enough in the long run, and the rest of uMx kind of faltered. So their second attempt now at AVG, and the exact same setup coming out. I think they're basically saying that this strategy-wise was good, and you know they can see that Brown got a bit lucky. They maybe underperformed in certain areas, and yeah, I feel like this is a good call from them.
Yeah, and one adjustment we are seeing though is Cez is actually sitting inside of the vault. He should have impacts as Legion, so might be able to deny the thermite going onto the wall, but with Mahi sitting here, he could stun over the wall and potentially deny Cez from being able to throw those impacts. Shots going over. Flashbangs are sure to follow up shortly, but it's going to be interesting. If they get that vault wall open, it's such a strong position, and Brown are really good at capitalizing on that control.
Hennes needs to watch out because he was the first death in that last round from Coach. He was just sitting by that doorway into Aviator, and honestly, that was one of those sort of misplays that I mentioned earlier. He shouldn't really have been exposed to that angle. This time, he's nice and tight against that wall, making sure he's not over peeking it, making sure he's got knowledge of what's going on around him, and that's important because as the Kaid, you're not expected to take early engagements. You've got that. I don't know whether he's taking the TCSG or the AUG, but either way, it's not the most optimal of guns. And that C4, if he's carrying it, can be especially deadly later on.
Brown spending a lot of time just trying to get this wall open. Now less than 30 seconds in the round, they're finally able to shoot the bandits off the wall. Wit's going to be putting down the thermite. And then Cez can just throw impacts over the top. It does sound like the thermite goes off successfully, so it wasn't able to get caught out by the impact trick. And it's going to be 10 to get the first kill. Immediate trades coming out, and it's going to be Brown still sitting on top for the time being. The player behind the bar gets dropped by Coach as well as he pushes on in. It's going to be Hennes, though, to kill him. Smoke canisters have been deployed. The C4 goes on out right onto the planter. That's Wit dead, and uMx get the round here.
That was the play right there. The absolute difference maker that Hennes was there, just holding onto that C4 for the late round, and maybe last round wouldn't have been quite so sketchy if he'd survived it. But yeah, there we go. That's that round-winning play, and he does go down after it. Coach did an impressive job refragging Temp, coming up those stairs, finding another just behind Bar, and then trying to cut his way through site, but it was just too little too late for Brown Esports, and this time uMx playing a little bit more passively certainly gained them the edge there with that timer essentially winning them the round.
Yeah. I really want to sort of isolate on what Mahi was doing on that 90 window, though. By repelling there, it's a strong position if you're going to apply pressure where they're pushing through Vault. And it kind of denies that, it forces them to go through the site itself. But then, when the pressure isn't being applied in quite the right way, you are so far removed from the round, and to repel on in is effectively a death sentence. And I don't know whether it's worth constantly putting in there, because he's spent the entirety of the last 2 rounds there, and all he's done is die. I don't think I've seen him use his gadgets, aside from a claymore, and he's, doesn't have any assists, doesn't have any kills. I feel like if you're going to be on Zephyr, you could do a lot more.
It's interesting because Mahi last week was actually sort of duking it out with Temp on the sort of entry a lot of the time, or following up. It seems as though Coach is actually kind of slotting into that role this time around, whether it's just the fact that they want to employ the Zofia slightly differently on this map, because Mahi seems to stick solidly to that operator. And yeah, I think he definitely wasn't in the position where he was holding flanks, and that's the role that you put your player on for that 90 repel, right? The person you stick there is your flank hold, essentially, or like the person that you expect to kind of pinch out any roamers that are being forced back by your entries. And it just seems like a slight role swap, and I wonder whether that's optimal for them. Obviously on Coastline it's a very different sort of affair, and the windows can work much more to your advantage. I think there's very limited window work that you can do here. We see him now on the one other window that's very important in this map, which is Astro. As of course we are now on the Trophy and Aviator, or not Trophy, Aviator. I've combined 2 sites. Wonderful. Trophy Statuary site. Temp's getting a little bit cheeky, trying to push up from underneath. He's found a route in. It looks as though Skilts is trying to land that frag grenade, but he can't quite find it. Rep, though, with the opening frag, using that destruction to his own advantage, nailing the headshot onto Teb. Good first pick.
Beautiful hole set up there by uMx. And getting Temp off the board, that's always a good sign. The opening gunner, well, outgunned this time around. It's going to give uMx a nice advantage and alleviate some of that pressure over by Astro. There is still Skilts downstairs with frag nades to contend with. But without the Ash there to support, it's a bit of a different situation. Henna's playing aggressively, challenging this angle as the flashbangs come on over to deny any potential impact tricking on the wall. The C4 gets caught, the impact goes off too early, and that's going to be the Thermite going off successfully yet again. And Brown Esports have been doing a really good job of getting these walls open.
They're down 2 very important pieces of utility, and now they're down an operator. Coach finding one, Skilts with another as a frag grenade. Coach with the headshot on the over-peaking Jaeger, but Kez is there to pick up 2 for himself and even out the man count. It's all exploding into action here. Now he has Diffuser inside of Master, and Skilts has to try and retake this position. Where is Mahi? Oh my god!
No!
The ACOG! He doesn't see him! No way!
4-3! No!
Oh my god, he finally realizes Mahi picking up another kill there, but we get to see this in all its glory. Oh my goodness, but unfortunate there. But we saw the calamity as it unfolded. Somehow Hez just not reacting himself either. And oh my god, I'm lost for words right there.
He only noticed it when he switched to the SMG-11.
Yeah.
That is... yeah, that's one that is going down in the history books. That's why you don't play 4-3 ACOG. I think we'll just put it down to that right there.
I mean, it is a very unusual position for the Alibi to be in, right? Right on top of Diffuser, inside a master bedroom in a 2 versus 2 is the least
standing
expected
on
thing.
A body.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what Alibi's, sort of trained to do. She's the master of deception.
Yeah, exactly.
Taking that to the next level. She doesn't need prisoners. She's got corpses.
Doesn't need all those fancy skins to blend in with the walls as well. Just does it by himself.
Oh, don't mention skins to me, man. I've already had too many nightmares about the amount of rehosts we've had. Luckily, this hasn't happened much in this league. I think it happened in the first day on the first round. But besides that, yep, let's not jinx it. I'm very good at jinxing things, so we'll move on and hope that we don't see any sort of mess ups like that again from either team. That was just a weird moment from Skills. I can't get over it. Maybe we should blow past it and think about what actually happened in that round.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
So being able to get that master bedroom control, I mean, being able to get the wall open, which is something that Brownie Esports did very effectively, opening up the vault wall, again, seen as a difficult wall to open up from time to time, and then doing it again on this master triple wall without a Thatcher available is a very strong showing for them, and it shows that they are working effectively as a cohesive unit and outplaying uMx in those situations. And I think that might be a little bit of the telltale throughout these attacking rounds, as Mahi dies jumping into a window. I mean, maybe this is why he's been sitting on rappel the last 3 rounds.
Yeah, he's much better outside those windows, apparently. But, I mean, the only real reason you could explain that, and maybe give Mahi some credit, is that Henders is holding a very strange angle there. Up on that counter, or on the sink. But, I mean, you've got to drone out these positions. This is a very heavy closet bathroom hold. We've seen this sort of prevalence of this strategy grow and grow in recent times. And I think attackers are still kind of figuring out, even at the highest level, exactly how you've got to try and deal with this. A lot of it relies on pressure from beneath, perhaps, and or maybe the potential of just refocusing your efforts on that south side, sweeping through AVG and taking control of the map that way, ignoring these really strong positions like Astro, like Bathroom, like Closet, that can be invested so heavily in.
Yeah. And it's just interesting.
Come on. Like, dude, you can't just spray and expect to kill. Like, that's not going to work. Sorry, continue.
I saw it in a Skittles video once, you know, just shoots through the floor, gets a kill. Oh,
ooh, that's much better.
Yeah, Coach landing a nice shot onto Hennis there, so he evens out the man count, but time is still heavily in favour of uMx. There's only about 50 seconds left on the clock, and Rep is still sitting here in this walk-in closet. Even if they don't get him out of this spot and they completely switch up their attack over towards the master bedroom side of the map, it's just going to be so easy for uMx to go for this retake, especially as they get the kill onto Coach. Says goes down straight after 2 skills, so it's still a 3 versus 3 with 30 seconds left on the clock. Once again, Kutcher, the smoke is left on the board, and he's just getting more and more powerful by the second. Suspended, 1, Rep, another, and now it's just skills. He gets the kill onto Suspended, needs to try and reclaim the diffuser lost inside of the walk-in closet. He's aware of Rep's position, the ACOG not covering his head this time, and now it's down to a 1 versus 1 with 10 seconds on the clock. He needs to try and find a way to get the plant off or get this kill. He's pushing on through. The ping's coming out. He's not ADS, and that's going to be Kutcher. uMx getting round number 4. Tying it up at 2-2.
It's a superior SMG play there. Having that ADS mattered so much in that situation. You got to understand switching to the SMG in that situation as the sledge is absolutely the right thing to do. Some lovely shots landed that round, it has to be said, from a lot of the players on Brown Esports particularly. And I think it was unfortunate for Skills. He definitely showed up there. Nice 3k, but again, the timer just whittling down. And so far, we've seen two uMx gaming rounds won almost entirely off of the timer.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it a lot before, and I'll keep saying it again. Defenders, well, as an attacker, you're going up against 6 defenders. You've got 5 operators on the clock to try and deal with. And Brown, they're doing a good job of being able to hit their shots, but their time management is what's really stung them in the back in 2 rounds here.
Yeah, I mean, they showed us last week that they really can hit their shots, but something that wasn't the case last week was the time management problem. They were actually very efficient. They always had that answer, and their plan played out exactly as they wanted it. Of course, this is a different side they're up against now. uMx are giving them something to fight against, and I think it's like I said, it's showing us a different side to Brown Esports. This is what happens when Brown Esports are actually put under pressure, and maybe time management is one of their bigger downfalls, but we'll see if that's the case, because we've got 2 more attacking rounds left, and I guess this is the biggest test, switching back over to AVG. And even the round that they won here came very close with the timer. I think Brown Esports, they're very quick with their roam clear, but then when it comes to actually facing those breaches, facing those walls, and the players being quite up close and personal, they they need to maybe have a bit more confidence in their gunplay, because clearly when it comes down to it, they have that edge in a lot of situations.
Suspended didn't get droned out as he was going down those Astro stairs. Temp might have an idea. Someone else could have thrown a drone down, but for the time being, it looks like Suspended is going to go unchallenged. And a roaming Jaeger, well, that's always a dangerous combo. One of the best guns on defense, being able to come up behind you could quite easily land itself into a multi-kill. But no, he has just decided to default back to the site and is going to play that shield at the top of the main stairs.
Suspended had some mixed results last week. He was playing a lot of Clubhouse with a heavy roam, and it would either be that he got the opening kill and was immediately traded off, or he just died straight off the bat and uMx were 4v5 for the rest of the round. So hopefully he has a better week. We haven't seen too much from him this week. He hasn't been as prevalent a factor, but I mean, that could be a good sign. That's part of the, a lot of the ways that uMx have been winning has been down to time, has been down to their sort of reservedness, and Villa is a map that really lends itself to turtling up. That said, so is Club, but I think, maybe there's a bit more discipline now after seeing how it didn't really work out for them last time.
Yeah. I really feel like this round is gonna be one of the most important rounds of this map. Temp gets the opening kill onto Suspended, and we know how important opening kills are, so it's looking like it might start falling into the favor of Brown Esports. But if they get this round here, that'll be 3 rounds attacking on Villa against what has been a relatively solid set of defensive rounds coming through from uMx. They've set up wisely. They've not sort of overplayed any positions. They've done what they should do. They've just been losing their gunfights, and if Brown get this one here, they're going to be going into at least a psychological advantage when they move on to their own attack. And I only see that snowballing when they get to defend themselves.
40 seconds left. Once again, uMx all turtled up, but they have lost Suspended, as previously noted. So this is going to be a much harder task for them. They've also lost these main stairs, and Skills is just having a whale of a time trying to peek this and find an early pick. Hez finds one, and Coach is there to refrag onto Rep elsewhere. Mahi taking down Kenners, and now, or Henners rather, now it's a 2 versus 4. And we have 1 toxic gas canister left in pocket of Kucha, but Skills has pushed his way deep into sight, and the plant is going down. That ticking damage is actually going to prevent the plant, and now it's a 1 versus 2. Kucha's still alive. He just has to wait and deny the plant, and that's it. No attempted plant at all from the IQ, and uMx once again win on time.
That was very well played by the smoke, remaining safe inside a vault, knowing that the smoke goes through the vault door, so just throwing it in the corner without needing to expose himself. Very well played, and it, as he mentioned, again, Brown Esports not having the time to properly clear out the site and get that pressure exerted onto vault. I don't know if they were able to get the vault wall opened up this time. And, well, that really played against them, and Kucha, he's not been stacking up the kills, but his impact has been enormous throughout these rounds.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it yourself, hiding in vault. I mean, it is the safest place. It's basically a big safe, and you couldn't ask for a better spot to hold up at the very end of it. I want to take a look over to the stats on Brown Esports. You got to be feeling for Coach right now. 8-3 is pretty good. And he's just not finding the round wins off the back of it. Well, Brown Esports aren't. And, I mean, we called it out before that round. We said that timing might be an issue for Brown Esports, and it looks as though it really is. It's been every single time it's come down to time. But I've said time so many times now. And I think it's time to move on from that, because we're probably going to see it again. I think if it's going to happen again, then I'll be slightly disappointed in Brown Esports, because this is a site which is definitely easier to sort of take control of quickly. That being said, uMx are doing the right thing. They've swapped onto the Mozzie and the Mute, and that will enable them to take hold of this top floor and make it harder for Brown Esports to try and clear through it. And the strategy here is sort of akin to the 2-1-2 split that you get on Clubhouse, where you play the top floor and gradually fall back and retreat to the site, trying to make sure that you don't lose any lives in the process, and just take out drones, fall back, take out drones, fall back. And so far, we don't see a single Brown Esport player inside the building yet, and it's almost been a minute gone. So I'd say they're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
As in, uMx are doing a good job.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's another good job coming through. Rep there using his C4 to get rid of Coach. As you mentioned, he was going 8-3, so one of the stronger performers from Brown off the board. But look at the strategy coming through from uMx. They have 4 C4s available, 3 now that Rep has used his. But that is, a very common way to try and hold onto the site. You just chuck C4s up with a pulse downstairs. Having the Valkyrie as well provides additional cam, so even if the pulse is out of action or is lining up to throw his own C4, you've still got a steady flow of intel coming through, and that's going to actually be a miss C4. Skilt's losing half of his health, but will stay alive. A little bit of a wasted opportunity there, but Skilt, oh my goodness, sit down, says. That is... Whew.
Ooh, he's trying a little trick here, rolling the grenade in and expecting it to fall through. It doesn't actually work there, but no one underneath the receive anyway, so that C4 damage done onto Skilt might matter in the long run. Obviously, on the side of uMx, you've got all these low-powered SMGs, and just tickling a player a couple of times, is not usually enough to kill a full-health attacker, but Skilt might go down after a short engagement.
Yeah.
Oh, he's fishing, though.
I'm not sure if they have any C4s left available. Wet is going to be opening up this wall here. Oh no, it's denied by a mute jammer, so they're going to be forced on through the single doorway, and this is where Kutcher's C4 could come in massive. If he's able to get it over by that lounge area, could completely deny this end of the round. It's going to be the run out from the pulse, so he catches the Ash off guard, swings on through. Wit gets the kill, but Rep takes down Skills upstairs, so it's just Wit. He taps out the headshot, but Rep recovering the round, and that's going to be uMx finishing their defensive half on Villa 4-2.
I think we just got to see one of Rep's kills there as well onto the player directly above, and that was a beautiful little 2K to seal the round out from the Mozzie, but hats off to the Pulse as well, making that run out and almost snagging the Thermite, but we just saw some incredible back and forth play there, right? We saw the run out from Henners, absolutely heads up play, and then Witsuka doing an incredible job to react to that here, taking down one, and then look at this lovely little tap you get to see just through the bomb chassis. And we didn't get to see it fully there, but you got to see the angle lined up. Very nicely done by the Thermite. So, I mean, in the end, though, it's another defensive round for uMx Gaming. And they sit on a 4-2 after the split. That's a respectable tally for Brown, I have to say. Despite the troubles that they had, 2 rounds on Villa is it's respectable. I can see them potentially pulling through here.
Yeah. Although uMx did just win 3 defensive rounds in a row, they're going to have a lot of momentum coming forward. Brown, they were able to get one, lose one, get one, then they lost 3. It's a very sort of poor position to be in sometimes, to not have that momentum going through as you're switching halves. uMx might be able to capitalize on that, as we're seeing quite an aggressive lineup of operators coming through from uMx. We've got the Zofia, Flank Watch, Flex Fragger, Iana, got a G36C, so I mean, play it however you want, you'll probably still get kills. Sledge, Fragger, Ash, Fragger, Hibana. After you've used your X-Kairos, you've got one of the best guns in the game, so uMx are ready to take these fights.
They absolutely are. And I think that it's surprising to once again not see any mirror. This is Brown Esports' go to sort of to set the precedent, and once again, no mirror. But I suppose that's just a sign of the meta. It's very interesting that she retains such a high ban rate, but also equally a fairly low play rate in the current meta. From map to map, it seems fairly consistent that she just doesn't get utilized in the way that she used to.
Yeah. And I quite like that. I liked seeing the meta change, and the more mirror doesn't get banned out and the more interesting bans we see come through, I think that could be quite good for the scene in general.
I was going to say, if only he knew, but the debris there just providing a little bit of visual cover for Mahi to sprint away, and he's very lucky to get away with his life there. Does forego that 90 position, though, which is the smart thing to do. You'd rather keep your life. We also saw him spend that C4 earlier. Definitely a pre-placed one, but not netting anything. So perhaps a bit of incorrect intel being spread there amongst the ranks of Brown Esports. There is no IQ on the board, which means that these black eye cameras might go undetected for a while. We didn't get to see where they were ourselves, and unless they're in spots where uMx had droned them out, then they could be very valuable at reading into these the direction and the location of these pushing players from uMx today. I'm just stumbling all over the place today, aren't I? Either way, we've got Skilts just sitting in this position that we saw. I believe it was Rep in for uMx when they were on the defense. It's definitely kind of a shared strategy between these two sides. I'm a big fan of it. It's a nice little position that works quite well. Oh, is that a Gemini running into the site? Yes, it must be.
Yeah. But,
oh, but that's the real one. Oh, it's not the site. That's the study.
But they're still able to get a line of sight on into, well, the site itself. And Barnet's going to be able to open up a little bit of that aviator wall. And just a little bit more coming through now. And this is going to apply so much pressure to the guys on site from Brown. Holding onto Volt is the smoke, so he's going to be trying his best to stay alive. And a lot of control being taken by uMx while they've still got all 5 players from Brown left alive. And now the kills come flooding on in. It's now 4-2, 3-2. I can't even keep track of these trades, but now it's all left up to Wit the Valkyrie to try and pull this round back in a 1 versus 3. He doesn't have a C4 to hand, and he's got about, well, no HP left to his name after Says hits that headshot, and that's going to be uMx taking round number 7 now, 4 rounds in a row.
They are riding that wave. They've got the momentum behind them, and finishing that off with a 3 versus 1. Absolutely incredible stuff from uMx on that attack there. It was an explosive late round. We saw so many kills flooding in left, right, and center. But the most important thing there was that the plant went down, and that gave uMx the opportunity to see that out. I think, honestly, that you can really tell that these two teams are so evenly matched based on how close the rounds are. But uMx just having that edge when it comes down to the final few seconds, whether they be on defense or attack, is really what's making the difference here. And that's why they see themselves 5-2 up at this point.
Yeah. And, I mean, look at that last round. I think it was still a 5 versus 5 with less than 30 seconds to go. And uMx had just been able to position themselves so perfectly that it just completely fell apart for Brown. Brown were able to get 2 kills back and pull it into, I think it was a 3 versus 2 at one point, and then it was a 3 versus 1. And at that point, with the diffuser down, everyone in post-plant positions, there's really nothing you can do. And that was a very well-coordinated execute pulled off by uMx. And Brown just really had no answer for it. They didn't have a smoke to try and do area deny and time denial. They just kind of relied on their C4s and their gun skill. And, well, that didn't really pan out particularly well for them there.
That's got to be so difficult to deal with as a defender. You know that you're about to face an onslaught of 5 attackers, and the comms are going to be, well, I mean, they're going to be hectic whether you want them to or not a lot of the time in that situation, and that can really throw certain teams off. And I think that the teams that come out on top in those sort of situations, you can really say that they are strong and that they have worked on their communication skills, because, you know, I suppose as attackers, you get the opportunity to gather that intel and know exactly, like, the location of these anchors and make sure that you're executing onto the particular locations. But on the defensive side, it's more a case of holding the angles and knowing, you know, they're coming from this direction, they're coming through here. There's 3 of them coming from study, 2 of them coming from 90 or whatever it may be. And having the right amount of utility and guns pointed in those directions to be able to refrag, because that's exactly what the situation is. You need to be able to refrag when it gets tough in the last 10 seconds like that.
Yeah. There's a light roam that we saw from Brown, though, over by the trophy statue side of the map, is actually going to do quite a lot in terms of wasting time for uMx, because they're going to have to, you know, re-drone the map. A lot of the areas that they may have cleared out with pre-placed drones at the start of the round to go, oh, no one went downstairs, then they droned trophy statue, some gunshots back and forth, waste a little bit of time, jump on down. Where's he going? He could flank up behind us, he could flank up red. And so it might have wasted another 20-30 seconds as they're just trying to find out where the Jaeger went. It's going to be Mahi, though, to lose his life first. Henna's once again getting that early entry into study and picking up the early frag.
This long line of sight opened up by Suspended cuts off a lot of the rotation between sites, and pretty much all the rotation between sites, looking into Vault. And Coach there at least finds one, while Henna's refrags elsewhere onto Skills, as we just saw. Now Rep is getting into position to plant. There are C4s on the side of Brown, and one goes out, but that falls a bit short of the mark, and Rep will get the diffuser down after Coach, or just before Coach claims that kill. Temper's been downed as well, though, and now it's effectively a 1 versus 3 again. Coach finally picked up by Kez in that post plant, and uMx Gaming just showing that they really know how to execute onto AVG. They pick themselves up their 6th round of the day. That secures them, at the very least, a draw and a point in the standings.
Valkyrie needing to go to the gym, lift a couple more weights, maybe throw a medicine ball around, because that C4 landed way short. And that would have been the round-deciding C4. If that had gone off perfectly and killed Rep as he was going for the plant, there would have been almost no way to recover that diffuser without lining yourself up into one of the defender's line of sights. But instead, the C4 didn't quite pan out, and uMx already had a lot of control that they needed at that point in time, and it just all crumbled apart yet again. And here, we've just seen 5 rounds in a row for uMx, and they're looking to make it a 6th to secure them the game right here, as we're going to see Brown switch it up and go over to Statue Trophy.
It's intriguing to see Brown Esports, a team that managed to put down 5 plants out of the 6 attacking rounds last week against Turtle Esports on Coastline. And this week, they've really struggled to get it down. And in the 2 defensive rounds we've seen, they've also had plants go against them, you know? It just goes to show the difference a map can make, really. I think, honestly, that was a bit of a poor setup from Brown Esports. We saw the short C4, and I'm honestly not quite sure why that rotate wasn't prepped either as a walkthrough, or just to have some holes prepped, you know, near the top C4 toss holes that you always have. Like, that's sort of a standard for covering another site from range. You want to be able to toss those C4s through, and Valk even has the deagle to be able to open those up for herself. So yeah, just a little bit of poor preparation, I think, might have cost them in the pinch there. But we're going to see uMx begin their sweep, and this is an approach that we didn't see from Brown Esports when they were attacking onto Trophy Statuary, and that is a full sweep from the south side through AVG. Very quick work has been made of it by uMx, and they already have control here.
Yeah, and you can kind of sort of make assumptions that no one's going to be playing inside of Aviator Games without any barbed wire, any reinforcements anywhere. So it's allowed uMx, with a little bit of pre-fire and a little bit of droning slightly later on, to be able to clear out all of this space. And that's going to give them a lot of control onto the balcony and looking on in. But it's actually going to be Temp to get the first kill, and that's going to take down Suspended, the Hibana, off the board. The only form of hard breach that uMx had to offer in this round. It's going to make things very difficult indeed, because now they have to funnel through these narrow doorways. It's all single doors over on this side of the map when you want to get on into the site itself. And that just plays it perfectly into Brown's hands.
Yeah, the way that this is set up, it has the potential to be an absolute massacre. I expect Brown Esports to come away with this unless uMx do something drastic and maybe start focusing their efforts all round. The difficulty with that, though, is that you leave yourselves open to, well, I mean, I was going to say open to not having a refragging player behind you, but the C4 from beneath will certainly be a risk as well. And now we've just got the call that they've got to rush. They've got to try and make these plays. Hez going in for the first frag, but he's immediately taken down. Witsuka on a double kill now, as Rep is the last man standing. And he is taken down by Witsuka. Fantastic round there from the Valkyrie. Taking down so many players in that final engagement. And like I said, a massacre.
Yeah. And that's why bringing one hard breach is generally not seen as a great idea. And I do believe Hibana was by themselves outside droning. So maybe a default cam was left up, maybe, or they could have been on the rappel on the sort of landing window. So unfortunate the suspended got taken out that early on, and that sort of, you saw them all just go, right, we have no other way on into the site, got to try and rush and go for these frags. And that's not going to pan out too well against Brown 99% of the time.
No, you don't want to be bringing these players down to just gunfights. That's not the play. They've shown that they're capable, and I think that Brown Esports still definitely have a hope of gaining this draw because it is Villa, and you can never write off the defenders. But the main thing for me right there is that they've finally stopped uMx Gaming in their tracks. Before that, we saw 5 rounds in a row from them, and now that it's just the one round to get to seal it out, they have stumbled. And I think that if they don't manage to claim this next round here on dining and kitchen, then I think we could see Brown Esports actually take it all the way. They will have to go back to AVG though, and that has not been strong for them. So maybe it's not all over for uMx. Well, it's certainly not all over. They're 6-3 up.
I do have to sort of echo what you're saying there. The fact that we've seen Brown now go down to this kitchen dining area, it sort of implies that they've really lost confidence in their ability to hold AVG at the moment in this situation, and they're at least wanting to try other options, but that's going to sort of play into your mindset of next time, even if they win here, they're more than likely not going to go play Library and try AVG again, and if you're not confident in trying to win it, that's really not a good sign.
This is a very light defense of Trophy Statuary. I don't know if we could get another quick top-down view just to see the sort of spread of these defenders. We've got Wamayan Jaeger on site, and then a very heavy roam presence. Ritsuka playing in Study at the moment, and then a couple of players underneath in the name of Mahi, and even Coach on the smoke. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. It's a bottom floor hold. Okay, so yeah, top floor hold from the 3 roamers. This makes sense. Here we go. Let's get back into using my brain again. It's been a long time, and as we can see, Brown Esports have wasted a fair amount of time on the top, so they're doing quite well. Rep is pressuring through this window, and I think that's just mainly to cut off the rotation back, but Witsuka's already made his way back to the sort of main unit on that floor, so... Or has he? No, he's in Study, so he's fine for the time being.
Yeah. Something that sort of quite interesting to me is that we didn't see uMx attempt to just push the site itself, even though both of the shotguns that could make those vertical holes to challenge a direct push onto site were on the ground floor. So if they'd gone for that aggressive play, it could have worked out quite well for them, I think, but it's going to be Mahi using one of those SAS shotguns to take down Kutcher the Sledge off the board. And that's frag nades gone. If they hadn't already been used, that is a huge amount of utility lost, especially when it's getting down to this final sort of execute. Suspended has managed to find his way inside the site. He doesn't have the diffuser to attempt a plant just yet, but it's going to be Hennes to land the shot onto Mahi. He's been doing work with that G36. The diffuser in the hands of Rep has managed to find its way on into the site itself, and he's going to be going for it, but they lost control of upstairs. That's going to be Temp getting the kill onto Rep. The diffuser has been picked up by Suspended, and they are going to try and plant in a different position as we're now in a 3 versus 2. Says getting the kill onto Wit. The diffuser once again denied by Temp. 2 versus 2, 25 seconds left. They can't challenge him upstairs. Hennes does get the kill onto Skill, so Says is going to be going for the plant yet again. Temp's already denied it twice, but he won't be able to do so a 3rd time, and Says is able to get it down. Now, somewhere.
That barricade is just not what he wanted to see in that situation, is it? It's 1 versus 2 for him, and he's got to land his shots. He's been doing such a good job, but these post-plant angles have been established so well, and Hennes is going to seal out the win for uMx Gaming after a very sketchy round. 2 failed plant attempts, but it's 3rd one that matters. And uMx get their 1st win of the season.
Yeah, and It was a very strong showing all around. Their defense initially had a little bit to be desired, but they definitely turned it up in the latter half of their defense. And then when it came through onto their attacks, they were just very dominant. Brown was only able to win one defensive round on Villa, which is a testament to the ability of the attack, I'd say, more than anything coming through from uMx.
Yeah, and I think the main thing to reflect on in that match as well was just the effect of the timer. In that very first half, so many rounds for uMx Gaming went down to time, and I think Brown Esports, they need to take a look at their Villa, and they need to think about how we can best execute onto this swiftly, because there were, as you pointed out, a few times where players were in positions where they weren't having too much of an impact on the round, and yeah, I think that's a possible learning point for them here. But